Hey guys, tonight we're going to step into the sandaled feet of a Roman child and experience what it was like growing up in the most powerful empire the ancient world had ever seen. We're talking about a civilization where children were considered small adults from the moment they could walk, where your entire future was determined by the social class you were born into, and where surviving to adulthood was far from guaranteed. Picture this. You're 7 years old in the bustling city of Rome during the height of the empire, around 100 CE. While modern children worry about homework and bedtimes, you're already learning the complex social hierarchies that will govern your entire life. Participating in religious rituals that honour gods who could strike you down for disrespect, and watching gladiators fight to the death in the Colosseum as casually as modern kids watch cartoons. Childhood in ancient Rome wasn't the protected, innocent time we think of today. From the moment you were born, you faced a 50% chance of dying before your 5th birthday. If you survived those crucial early years, you were expected to contribute to your family's household, learn the skills needed for your predetermined social position, and prepare for adult responsibilities that would begin much earlier than in any modern society, so before you get comfortable. Take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together, straight into the marble halls and crowded streets of ancient Rome, where childhood was a brief preparation for a life that demanded strength, cunning, and unwavering loyalty to family and empire. You're about to experience what it was like to grow up in a world where children had no rights, where education meant memorizing Homer while being beaten with a cane, where entertainment included watching criminals torn apart by wild animals, and where your entire identity was shaped by whether you were born free or slave, citizen or foreigner, male or female. Tonight you're not just learning about ancient Rome, you're living it through the eyes of a child who must navigate a complex world of gods and emperors, slaves and senators, where every day brings lessons about hierarchy, duty and survival, in an empire that spanned 3 continents but offered no guarantee that you'd live to see your next birthday. You emerge into the world in a dimly lit room in your family's domus, surrounded by the sounds of women's voices and the smell of burning oil lamps, but your entry into life is far from the celebration that modern births represent. In ancient Rome, the moment of your birth begins not with joy, but with a terrifying ritual that will determine whether you live or die. The moment when you are placed at your father's feet for him to decide your fate. Your mother, exhausted from labour that carried a high risk of killing both of you, watches anxiously as the midwife, usually a skilled female slave or freedwoman, examines you for signs of deformity or weakness. In Roman society, children born with physical disabilities, obvious health problems, or even those who are simply unwanted may be rejected by their fathers and left to die from exposure. This practice, called infant exposure, is not only legal but socially accepted as a father's right and responsibility. The midwife wraps you in a rough woolen cloth and carries you to where your father, the pater familias, sits waiting. He holds absolute power over every member of his household, slaves, freedmen, wife, and children, and his decision about your fate will be final and unquestioned. If he picks you up and holds you, you will be raised as part of the family. If he turns away or orders you removed, you will be taken outside the city walls and left to die, becoming one of the countless infants whose bones litter the ancient dumping grounds around Roman settlements. Your father examines you carefully, looking for signs that you will grow into a useful member of Roman society. Are you breathing strongly? Do your limbs appear normal? Are you a male who could carry on the family name and serve in the legions? Or a female who will require a dowry and eventually belong to another family? His calculations are coldly practical. In a world where resources are limited and survival is uncertain, every family member must justify their existence. Fortunately, your father lifts you from the ground, signalling his acceptance of you as his child. But this moment of relief marks only the beginning of your precarious journey through infancy in ancient Rome. The infant mortality rate hovers around 50%, meaning that half of all children born will die before their 5th birthday from disease, malnutrition, accidents, or the countless dangers that lurk in a world without modern medicine or safety measures. Your first weeks of life unfold in the women's quarters of your family's house, where you're cared for primarily by female slaves and your mother, if she survived the birth and is wealthy enough to avoid immediately returning to household duties. Roman medical knowledge about infant care is limited and often dangerous. Babies are fed honey and wine, wrapped tightly in restrictive swaddling, and treated with remedies that modern medicine would consider harmful or potentially fatal. The gods must be placated to ensure your survival through these vulnerable early days. Your family makes offerings to Juno Lucina, the goddess of childbirth, and to the fates who control your destiny. Protective amulets are placed around your neck. Small golden bully if your family is wealthy, simple carved bone or pottery if you come from more modest circumstances. These amulets are believed to ward off the evil eye and malevolent spirits that are always seeking to harm innocent children. Your diet during these first months depends entirely on your family's social and economic status. If your mother is healthy and available, you may be breastfed, which significantly improves your survival chances. But many Roman mothers, especially among the upper classes, are unable or unwilling to nurse their children themselves. Instead, you might be fed by a wet nurse, usually a slave woman who has recently given birth, or given a mixture of goat's milk, honey and water that often causes digestive problems and increases your risk of early death. The physical environment of your infancy reflects the realities of Roman urban life. Your family's domus, if you're from a wealthy household, provides some protection from the elements and the chaos of city streets, but even wealthy homes lack the safety features that modern parents take for granted. Open braziers provide heat and light, but create constant fire hazards. Stairs and balconies have no safety railings. Wells and storage areas present drowning and falling dangers. Lead pipes and vessels, prized for their durability, slowly poison everyone who uses them. If your family belongs to the vast majority of Romans who are not wealthy, your infant environment is far more dangerous. You might live in a cramped apartment several stories above street level, reached by rickety wooden stairs that could collapse at any time. Fire is a constant threat in these overcrowded insulae, where cooking fires and oil lamps are used in close proximity to wooden walls and floors. Disease spreads rapidly through buildings where dozens of families share minimal sanitation facilities. Your first major milestone, if you survive the initial months, is your naming ceremony on the 9th day after birth if you're a boy, the 8th day if you're a girl. This ritual, called the dies lustricus, marks your official recognition as a member of Roman society, and involves the purification rituals that Romans believe are necessary to protect children from spiritual contamination and divine displeasure. The naming ceremony takes place in your family's household shrine, surrounded by the wax masks of your ancestors and the household gods who protect your family. Your father formally announces your name before witnesses, a declaration that gives you legal existence in Roman society. Boys receive 3 names: a praenomen, personal name, nomen, family name, and cognomen, nickname or branch of the family, while girls typically receive only the feminine form of their father's family name, sometimes with a number to distinguish between sisters. Your name carries more significance than simple identification. It represents your place in the complex web of Roman social relationships, your family's history and status, and your expected role in society. If you're named after a famous ancestor, you carry the weight of living up to their reputation. If your name reflects your family's origins or achievements, you're constantly reminded of the standards you must maintain. The protective rituals surrounding your early life reflect Roman beliefs about the supernatural forces that threaten children. Your family makes regular offerings to the deponates, the household gods who guard your home, and to the genius of your father, the divine spirit that protects your family line. Special ceremonies honour the goddess Rumina, who protects nursing infants, and Patina and Adusa, who govern your ability to drink and eat solid food. But divine protection requires more than ritual observance. It demands strict adherence to the complex rules that govern Roman religious life. Your family must avoid actions that might anger the gods, participate in public religious festivals, and maintain the proper relationship between humans and the divine forces that control destiny. Failure to observe these obligations could result in divine punishment, that might target you as the most vulnerable member of the household. Your physical development during these early months is closely monitored by the women of your household, who possess traditional knowledge about child rearing passed down through generations of Roman mothers and nurses. They know which herbs can treat infant illnesses, how to recognise signs of serious disease, and when to call for more skilled medical assistance. But their knowledge is mixed with superstitions and practices that modern medicine would consider harmful. Swaddling practices, for example, involve wrapping infants so tightly that movement is severely restricted, a technique Romans believe will ensure that children develop straight limbs and proper posture. Babies are often left wrapped for hours at a time, unable to move their arms or legs, in conditions that can restrict blood circulation and breathing. This practice reflects Roman values about discipline and control that begin from the moment of birth. Your feeding schedule follows Roman beliefs about regularity and discipline rather than infant needs or modern understanding of child development. You're fed at predetermined times according to adult schedules, not when you show signs of hunger. If you cry excessively, you might be given wine or poppy juice to quiet you, substances that can be dangerous or fatal to infants, but are commonly used by Roman caregivers who prioritise household peace over child safety. The social hierarchy that will govern your entire life begins to shape your experience from your earliest days. If your family owns slaves, you're cared for primarily by women whose own children may have been sold away, or who are forbidden from caring for their own offspring while tending to you. These slave nurses often develop deep emotional bonds with their charges, but their devotion exists within a system that gives them no rights and constant vulnerability to punishment or sale. Your early interactions with other children depend heavily on your family's social position and living arrangements. Wealthy children might play only with other elite offspring in carefully supervised settings, while children from poorer families grow up in the crowded, chaotic environment of urban apartment buildings, where dozens of children of various ages interact with minimal adult supervision. The toys and games available to you during these early years reflect both Roman values and the realities of ancient manufacturing. Wealthy children have elaborate dolls, miniature chariots, and board games made from expensive materials, while children from modest families play with simple toys carved from wood or bone. But regardless of your social position, many of your toys are designed to prepare you for adult roles: toy soldiers for boys, miniature household implements for girls, and games that teach strategy, competition, and hierarchy. Your health during infancy remains precarious despite your family's best efforts to protect you. Common childhood diseases that modern medicine can easily treat or prevent, measles, pneumonia, digestive disorders, can be fatal in the ancient world. Roman physicians have limited understanding of disease transmission, effective treatments, or surgical procedures that could save children's lives. The environmental hazards of Roman urban life create additional threats to infant survival. Air pollution from countless cooking fires, industrial activities, and burning refuse creates respiratory problems that particularly affect young children. Water contamination from inadequate sewage systems and industrial waste causes digestive diseases that can quickly kill infants. Lead poisoning from pipes, cooking vessels, and cosmetics affects neurological development in ways that Romans don't understand, but that modern science recognizes as severely damaging. Your emotional development during these early months occurs within Roman cultural frameworks that emphasize hierarchy, discipline, and emotional control rather than the nurturing and attachment that modern child psychology considers essential. Roman parents, particularly fathers, are expected to maintain emotional distance from young children who might not survive to adulthood. This protective detachment can result in care that meets physical needs while providing limited emotional warmth or security. As you approach your first birthday, a milestone that many Roman children never reach, you begin to demonstrate the resilience and adaptability that will be essential for survival in ancient Roman society. Those children who live through the vulnerable infant period have proven themselves hardy enough to face the challenges of childhood in a world where education means daily beatings, entertainment includes public executions, and preparation for adulthood begins almost immediately. Your first year of life in ancient Rome represents a gauntlet of physical, environmental, and social challenges that would seem insurmountable to modern parents, but that countless Roman children navigated successfully. Those who survived infancy possessed not just biological resilience, but the good fortune to be born into families with adequate resources, the favour of gods who controlled their destiny, and the strength to endure conditions that tested human limits from the moment of birth. Tonight, as you drift off to sleep, you can appreciate the relative safety and security of the modern childhood, while understanding the remarkable endurance of those Roman children, who grew up to build an empire that would span continents and influence human civilization for thousands of years. Their childhood experiences of hardship, hierarchy, and survival prepared them for lives that would reshape the ancient world through military conquest, engineering achievements, and cultural innovations that continue to influence our lives today. You wake before dawn in your family's domus as a 6-year-old Roman child, and the first thing you notice is the complex hierarchy that governs every aspect of household life. Your world revolves around the familia, not just your blood relatives, but the entire household, including slaves, freedmen, clients, and extended family members who live under your father's absolute authority. Understanding your place in this intricate social structure is the first and most important lesson of Roman childhood. Your father, the pater familias, holds power of life and death over everyone in the household, including you. This isn't metaphorical authority. Roman law gives him the right to sell you into slavery, arrange your marriage to anyone he chooses, or even execute you if he believes you've brought dishonour to the family name. His word is law within the household, and challenging his decisions is not just disrespectful, but potentially dangerous. You learn early to read his moods, anticipate his needs, and demonstrate the respect that Roman society demands children show their fathers. Your mother occupies a complex position within this hierarchy that shapes how you understand gender roles and family relationships. If she married with Manus, she legally became her husband's property, with no more rights than a daughter. If she married without Manes, she technically remains under her father's authority even after marriage, giving her slightly more independence but still subjecting her to male control. You watch how she navigates these constraints with intelligence and subtlety, wielding influence through persuasion rather than direct authority. The slaves who surround you from birth represent a fundamental part of your education in Roman values and social relationships. Your pedagogus, usually a Greek slave chosen for his education and culture, accompanies you everywhere, teaches you basic skills, and serves as your constant companion and supervisor. He's responsible for your safety, behaviour, and early learning, but he's also property that your father could sell, punish, or kill without legal consequences. You develop complicated relationships with these slave caregivers, who are often more present in your daily life than your own parents. Your nurse, who fed and cared for you as an infant, may love you deeply, but she must always remember that her devotion exists within a system that gives her no security and no rights. You learn to accept their service as natural, while beginning to understand the power dynamics that allow you to command people who are often older, more skilled, and more knowledgeable than you are. The physical space of your family's house teaches you about Roman social hierarchies through its very architecture. The atrium, where your father receives clients and conducts business, is the most public and formal space, decorated with symbols of family achievement and social status. The tablinum, your father's study, contains the family records and ancestral masks that connect you to generations of Roman tradition. The peristylum, the garden courtyard, provides a more private space for family activities and relaxation. Your daily routine begins with the salutatio, the morning greeting ceremony, where clients and dependents pay their respects to your father. You observe this ritual from an early age, learning how social relationships operate through formal expressions of respect and mutual obligation. Free citizens who depend on your family's patronage arrive to offer their services and receive small gifts or assistance, while your father demonstrates his status by the number and quality of people who seek his favour. Breakfast is usually a simple affair, bread dipped in wine or honey, perhaps some cheese or olives if your family's prosperous. You eat with your fingers from communal dishes, learning the table manners that Romans consider essential for civilized behaviour. Proper posture, appropriate conversation, and respect for older family members are enforced strictly, often with physical punishment for violations of dining etiquette. Your clothing reflects both your age and your family's social position in ways that constantly remind you of your place in a Roman society. Young children of both sexes wear simple tunics, usually made of wool or linen depending on the season and your family's wealth. Boys begin wearing the toga praetexta around age 7, a white toga with a purple border that marks them as freeborn Roman citizens who haven't yet reached adulthood. Girls continue wearing tunics but begin learning the complex art of managing the stola, the long dress that Roman matrons wear as a symbol of their respectability and virtue. Your toys and games serve as preparation for adult roles in ways that modern children might find disturbing or boring. Boys play with toy soldiers, practicing the military skills they'll need if they serve in the legions. You learn strategy games like Ludus Latrincalorum, a battle game that teaches tactical thinking and competitive spirit. Dice games introduce you to gambling, an activity that's technically illegal, but widely practiced by Roman men of all social classes. Girls in your household play with dolls that are exact miniatures of adult women, complete with elaborate hairstyles, jewellery and clothing that reflect current fashions. These aren't toys in the modern sense, but educational tools that teach girls about their future roles as wives and mothers. Doll furniture includes miniature household items, cooking utensils, weaving equipment, and cosmetic implements that familiarise girls with domestic responsibilities they'll assume as adults. The religious observances that punctuate your daily life teach you about your relationship with the gods who control Roman destiny and demand constant attention and respect. Each morning, your family makes offerings at the lararium, the household shrine that honours your family's protective spirits. You learn the proper rituals for honouring the lares and penates, the gods who guard your home and ensure your family's prosperity and security. Major religious festivals mark important events in your childhood calendar and provide opportunities for community participation that reinforce social hierarchies and cultural values. During the Saturnalia in December, normal social rules are temporarily reversed. Slaves give orders to masters, children receive gifts, and everyone participates in feasting and celebration that acknowledges the temporary nature of social distinctions while ultimately reinforcing their importance. Your education in Roman values begins with learning the stories of your ancestors and the great figures of Roman history whose examples you're expected to emulate. You memorize tales of heroes like Cincinnatus, who left his farm to serve as dictator and then returned to his plough, demonstrating the Roman virtues of duty, service, and modest ambition. You learn about Lucretia, whose suicide rather than live with dishonour led to the founding of the Roman Republic, teaching you about the importance of family honour and the lengths Romans will go to preserve their reputation. The concept of virtues, courage, excellence, and moral strength is presented to you not as an abstract ideal, but as a practical requirement for Roman citizenship. You learn that cowardice in battle dishonours not just yourself, but your entire family line, that keeping your word is more important than personal advantage, and that serving Rome's interests must take precedence over individual desires or comfort. Your relationship with extended family members provides additional lessons in Roman social dynamics and obligations. Visits from grandparents, uncles, aunts, and cousins create opportunities to observe how Romans navigate complex family politics, business relationships, and marriage alliances that span multiple generations. You learn that family loyalty is paramount, but you also observe how families sometimes fracture over inheritance disputes, political disagreements, or personal conflicts that can last for decades. The slaves and freedmen in your household represent different aspects of Roman social mobility and the complex relationships between freedom and servitude that characterize imperial society. Some slaves are prisoners of war who once held high positions in their own societies, but now serve your family in the humble capacities. Others are born into slavery but possess skills in literature, mathematics, or art that make them valuable teachers and companions. Freedmen, former slaves who have been manumitted, occupy an ambiguous position between slavery and full citizenship that teaches you about the conditional nature of freedom in Roman society. Your developing understanding of money, property, and economic relationships reflects Roman values about wealth, status, and social obligation. You learn that financial success is important, but that how you acquire and use wealth matters more than the amount you possess. Ostentatious display is appropriate for certain occasions, but can be criticised as excessive if it seems to challenge social superiors or ignore obligations to dependents and clients. The competitive nature of Roman society becomes apparent through every aspect of your childhood experience. Children compete for parental attention and approval, students vie for their teachers' recognition, and young Romans understand that life involves constant evaluation and ranking according to achievement, character, and social contribution. This competition isn't considered unhealthy or stressful. It's viewed as natural preparation for adult life in a society where success depends on outperforming rivals while maintaining appropriate respect for superiors. Your health and physical development receive attention that reflects Roman beliefs about the connection between bodily strength and moral character. Physical exercise is considered essential for boys who must prepare for potential military service, while girls engage in activities that promote the health and beauty that will make them attractive wives and mothers. Roman medicine, while limited by ancient understanding of anatomy and disease, emphasizes prevention through proper diet, exercise and lifestyle choices that promote both physical and moral well-being. The food you eat introduces you to the flavors and customs that define Roman culinary culture while teaching lessons about social status and proper behavior. Elaborate dinner parties demonstrate your family's wealth and sophistication, while simple daily meals emphasize the virtues of moderation and self-control that Romans consider essential for civilized life. You learn to appreciate garum, the fermented fish sauce that Romans add to almost every dish, and to distinguish between the fine wines that wealthy Romans drink and the rough vinegar that serves as everyday refreshment for common people. Your understanding of gender roles develops through observing the different expectations and opportunities available to boys and girls in your household. Boys are groomed for public life, political careers, military service, business leadership, that will require them to command others and make decisions affecting many people. Girls prepare for domestic responsibilities, managing households, raising children, supporting their husbands' careers that are considered equally important but operate primarily within private spheres. The concepts of honour and shame that govern Roman behaviour become internalised through daily experiences that teach you how actions reflect not just on yourself but on your entire family. Small violations of social expectations, rudeness to elders, failure to show proper respect, inappropriate behaviour in public, can bring shame that affects your family's reputation and social standing for years. Conversely, exceptional behaviour, courage, generosity, loyalty brings honour that enhances your family's status and creates opportunities for advancement. Your growing awareness of the broader Roman world beyond your household comes through stories, visitors, and observations that gradually expand your understanding of the empire's scope and complexity. Merchants bring goods from distant provinces, soldiers return with tales of frontier campaigns, and political discussions introduce you to the names and personalities of emperors, senators, and governors whose decisions affect millions of people throughout the Roman world. As you approach your 7th birthday, you begin to understand that childhood is rapidly ending and that more serious education and responsibilities await you. The playful activities that occupied your early years must give way to formal learning that will prepare you for adult roles in Roman society. The familiar that has nurtured and protected you will continue to shape your identity, but you're beginning to recognize that your individual achievements and failures will ultimately determine your place in the complex hierarchy that governs Roman life. Tonight, as you fall asleep in your family's domus, surrounded by the sounds of a household that never fully rests, you carry with you the lessons that Roman childhood has taught about duty, hierarchy, and the importance of family honour. These values will guide you through the challenges ahead as you transition from the protected world of early childhood to the demanding realities of formal education and preparation for adult citizenship in the greatest empire the ancient world has ever known. You're 7 years old when your real education begins, and the transition from childhood play to serious learning marks a dramatic change in your daily life that reflects Roman values about discipline, achievement, and preparation for adult responsibilities. Your father has decided that you're ready for formal instruction, and he's chosen your teacher carefully based on his reputation for producing students who excel in the skills that Roman society values most highly. Your first day of school begins before dawn as your pedagogus. The slave who serves as your guardian and escort wakes you for the walk to your teacher's school. The streets of Rome are already bustling with activity, merchants opening their shops, slaves carrying water and supplies, citizens heading to the forum for business or political activities. Your pedagogus carries a leather bag containing your writing materials, wax tablets, a bronze stylus, and papyrus for more advanced work that you'll eventually master. The school itself is a modest space, often just a rented room, or even a covered area in a public building where your teacher, called a grammaticus if he teaches literature, or a calculator if he focuses on mathematics, has set up benches for his students. There's no privacy from street noise, no protection from weather, and minimal equipment beyond what students provide themselves. Roman education operates on the principle that learning requires individual effort and determination, rather than comfortable surroundings or elaborate facilities. Your teacher greets you with a stern expression that immediately communicates his expectations about behaviour and effort. Roman educators believe that learning requires discipline, and discipline requires fear of consequences for poor performance or inappropriate behaviour. The rod that lies prominently on his desk isn't decorative. It's the primary tool for motivating students who show laziness, disrespect, or inadequate progress in their studies. The first lesson begins with recitation exercises that will form the foundation of your Roman education for years to come. You start by chanting the Latin alphabet, learning not just the letters but the proper pronunciation and rhythm that educated Romans use when speaking formally or delivering public addresses. Every letter must be pronounced clearly and correctly, with mistakes resulting in immediate correction, and, if repeated, physical punishment that reinforces the importance of precision in communication. Mathematics instruction begins with basic counting using your fingers and small stones, gradually progressing to addition and subtraction problems that require memorization of number facts and computational procedures. Roman numerals present unique challenges since their system makes complex calculations difficult, but you must master these symbols because they're used for all official purposes, from recording dates to marking distances on milestones throughout the empire. The abacus becomes your primary computational tool, and learning to use it efficiently requires hours of practice that develop both manual dexterity and mental calculation skills. Your teacher demonstrates how to represent numbers using the beads on different wires, how to perform addition and subtraction by moving beads according to specific rules, and how to check your work by recalculating problems using different methods. Reading instruction begins with simple words and phrases that gradually introduce you to the complexity and beauty of Latin literature. You start with moral maxims and historical sayings that teach Roman values while developing literacy skills. Dulce et decorum est pro patria mori. It is sweet and proper to die for one's country becomes one of your first complete sentences, combining reading practice with lessons about civic duty and military courage. Your writing instruction emphasises both mechanical skills and aesthetic standards that reflect Roman values about precision and beauty in communication. You practice forming letters on wax tablets that can be smoothed and reused, learning the proper stroke order and letter proportions that Romans consider essential for legible handwriting. Mistakes are corrected immediately and severely. Sloppy writing suggests lazy thinking and poor character that must be eliminated through constant practice and correction. Greek language instruction begins early because educated Romans are expected to be bilingual, capable of reading Greek literature and conducting conversations with educated people throughout the Eastern Mediterranean. Learning Greek represents more than practical skill. It demonstrates cultural sophistication and intellectual achievement that distinguishes educated Romans from barbarians who know only their native tongues. The memorization requirements of Roman education would seem overwhelming to modern students, but reflect Roman beliefs about training memory and building character through mental discipline. You're expected to memorize hundreds of lines of poetry, historical speeches, and moral teachings that provide examples of proper Latin usage while instilling cultural values and historical knowledge that every educated Roman should possess. Homer's Iliad and Odyssey provide your introduction to Greek literature and serve as textbooks for lessons about heroism, honour, and the consequences of divine favour or displeasure. You memorise entire passages describing Achilles' rage, Odysseus' cunning, and the fall of Troy, learning not just language skills but cultural references that educated Romans use in political speeches, literary compositions, and social conversations. Virgil's Aeneid holds special importance in your education because it tells the story of Rome's mythical founding while demonstrating the highest achievements of Latin poetry. You memorise Aeneas' adventures, his love affair with Dido, and his eventual arrival in Italy, where his descendants would found the city that now rules the world. These stories teach you about duty, sacrifice, and divine destiny, while providing models of Latin expression that you'll emulate in your own writing. The discipline that governs your education reflects Roman beliefs about character formation and social preparation that extend far beyond academic learning. Students who arrive late, fail to complete assignments, or show disrespect to teachers face immediate physical punishment that's designed to teach lessons about responsibility, hierarchy, and the consequences of poor choices that will serve you throughout adult life. Your teacher uses a leather strap or wooden rod to deliver beatings that are considered educational rather than cruel, designed to associate negative consequences with unacceptable behaviour, while teaching you to accept authority and correction without complaint. Roman parents expect their children to be disciplined strictly at school, viewing physical punishment as evidence that teachers are properly preparing students for adult responsibilities. The competitive atmosphere that pervades your education reflects Roman social values about achievement, excellence, and the importance of outperforming rivals while maintaining appropriate respect for superiors. Students are ranked according to their performance, with the best receiving recognition and privileges, while poor performers face additional penalties and public shame that motivates improved effort. Rhetoric instruction begins around age 10 and represents the pinnacle of Roman education, preparing you for the public speaking skills that successful Romans need for political careers, legal practice, and social leadership. You learn the 5 parts of classical rhetoric: invention, arrangement, style, memory, and delivery, through exercises that gradually develop your ability to construct and present persuasive arguments on any topic. Declamation exercises require you to argue both sides of controversial questions, developing mental agility and argumentative skills while learning to separate personal beliefs from professional obligations. You might defend the actions of Julius Caesar one day and prosecute him the next, learning that educated Romans must be able to argue effectively regardless of their personal opinions about the topics under discussion. The moral dimension of your education emphasizes character development alongside intellectual achievement, reflecting Roman beliefs that knowledge without virtue creates dangerous individuals who might use their skills to harm society rather than serve it properly. Your teachers constantly evaluate your behaviour, honesty, and respect for authority, providing reports to your parents about moral development as well as academic progress. Historical instruction focuses primarily on Roman achievements and exemplary figures whose actions provide models for proper behaviour and civic virtue. You learn about the heroes of the early Republic, Cincinnatus, Horatius, Cato the Elder, whose stories teach lessons about duty, courage, and service that every Roman citizen should emulate. The geography lessons that form part of your education emphasize Rome's imperial achievements and the extent of Roman power throughout the known world. You memorize the names of provinces, major cities, and important geographical features while learning about the peoples and cultures that Roman arms have conquered and Roman administration now governs. Physical education receives attention appropriate to your future role in Roman society, with boys receiving training that prepares them for potential military service, while girls learn activities that promote health and grace suitable for their domestic responsibilities. Swimming, running, and wrestling develop strength and coordination while teaching competitive spirit and determination. The cost of your education represents a significant investment for your family, reflecting Roman values about the importance of preparing children for success while maintaining social status through demonstration of cultural sophistication. Private tutors cost more than group instruction, but provide individual attention and prestige that wealthy families consider essential for their children's advancement. Your progress through the Roman educational system follows predictable stages that prepare you for increasingly complex responsibilities and social expectations. Elementary education lasts until about age 12, when you'll transition to more advanced studies with a rhetor, who will prepare you for adult roles in law, politics, or administration that require sophisticated communication skills and cultural knowledge. The assessment methods used to evaluate your progress rely heavily on public recitation and competitive exercises that demonstrate not just knowledge, but performance skills essential for Roman public life. You're regularly called upon to recite memorized passages, solve mathematical problems, and deliver impromptu speeches that test your ability to think quickly under pressure while maintaining the composure that Romans expect from educated citizens. Your fellow students come from various social backgrounds, creating a classroom environment that reflects Roman society's complex hierarchies while providing opportunities to form friendships and rivalries that may last throughout your life. The son of a senator sits next to the child of a successful merchant, while the offspring of a freed slave struggles to prove his worthiness for inclusion in educated Roman society. The social dynamics within your classroom provide practical education in Roman politics and relationship management that's as valuable as the formal curriculum. You learn to recognize social cues, manage conflicts diplomatically, and build alliances that could benefit your family's interests while avoiding associations that might damage your reputation or prospects. The punishment system that governs your school emphasizes public shame as much as physical pain, reflecting Roman beliefs about honor and reputation that will govern your adult life. Students who perform poorly or behave inappropriately face humiliation before their peers as well as physical correction, learning that failure affects not just personal comfort, but social standing within the community. Your textbooks, when they exist, consist mainly of papyrus scrolls that contain excerpts from classical authors rather than comprehensive educational materials designed specifically for student use. Much of your learning depends on dictation from teachers and memorization of material that you copy onto wax tablets for practice and review. The writing exercises that form a crucial part of your education begin with copying exemplary texts, but gradually progress to original compositions that demonstrate your mastery of Latin style and Roman values. You write short moral essays, compose simple poems in classical meters, and practice the epistolary forms that educated Romans use for official and personal correspondence. Philosophy instruction introduces you to Greek and Roman thinkers whose ideas about ethics, politics, and human nature provide intellectual frameworks for understanding your role as a Roman citizen. You study Stoic principles about duty, honor, and emotional control that Romans consider essential for leadership and public service. The practical skills that supplement your formal education reflect Roman recognition that even educated citizens need understanding of business, agriculture, and household management that theory alone cannot provide. You learn basic accounting procedures, property management principles, and the legal concepts that govern contracts, inheritance, and civic obligations. Your teachers represent a mix of free citizens and educated slaves whose own backgrounds illustrate the complex relationships between knowledge, status, and social mobility in Roman society. Some are former slaves who earned freedom through their educational achievements, while others are freeborn Romans who turned to teaching because they lacked the family connections or wealth needed for more prestigious careers. The schedule that governs your school day reflects Roman values about industry, punctuality, and efficient use of time that will serve you throughout adult life. Classes begin at dawn and continue until mid-afternoon, with brief breaks for simple meals and physical exercise that maintains health without distracting from serious intellectual work. The examinations that test your progress take the form of public performances, where you demonstrate mastery of assigned material before audiences that may include parents, community leaders, and potential patrons whose approval could affect your future opportunities. These events combine academic assessment with social networking that reflects the importance of personal relationships in Roman career advancement. Your graduation from elementary education around age 12 marks a significant transition that's celebrated by your family and community as evidence of your readiness for more advanced responsibilities and social expectations. You've demonstrated the basic literacy, numeracy, and cultural knowledge that Romans consider essential for citizenship, while developing the discipline and character that will serve you in adult roles. The knowledge you've acquired through years of rigorous study and strict discipline provides the foundation for further education or entry into apprenticeships that will prepare you for specific careers in Roman society. Whether you continue with advanced rhetorical training, enter military service, or begin learning a trade, your elementary education has equipped you with the intellectual tools and cultural understanding that distinguish educated Romans from the vast majority of imperial subjects who remain illiterate and culturally uninformed. As you complete this phase of your education, you understand that learning in Roman society represents both privilege and responsibility. The privilege of acquiring knowledge that most people never access, and the responsibility to use that knowledge in service of family honour and imperial welfare. Your education has prepared you not just for personal success, but for the civic duties that Roman citizenship demands from those who benefit from the empire's protection and opportunities. Tonight, as you review the texts you've memorised and practice the skills you've developed, you appreciate both the rigour and the purpose of Roman education. The discipline that seemed harsh has developed your character. The memorization that felt tedious has equipped your mind with cultural resources, and the competition that created stress has prepared you for the challenges of adult life in a society that rewards achievement while punishing failure. The education you've received represents one of Rome's greatest achievements, a systematic approach to developing human potential that created the administrators, generals, lawyers, and leaders who built and maintained an empire spanning 3 continents. Your individual success reflects not just personal effort, but participation in an educational tradition that transformed Roman society from a small Italian city-state into the dominant civilization of the ancient world. You're 10 years old when you first participate in the Ludi Romani, the great games that honour Jupiter Optimus Maximus, and this experience marks a crucial milestone in your understanding of what it means to be Roman. Standing with your family in the Circus Maximus, watching 250,000 spectators cheer for chariot races that celebrate Roman power and divine favour, you begin to comprehend the scale and complexity of the empire that claims your loyalty and shapes your identity. The religious festivals that punctuate your childhood serve as both entertainment and education in Roman values, divine relationships, and social hierarchies that will govern your entire life. Each ceremony teaches lessons about proper behaviour, religious obligation, and your place in the cosmic order that Romans believe connects human society with divine will and natural law. Your preparation for these festivals begins days in advance as your family discusses appropriate clothing, proper behaviour, and the religious significance of rituals you'll witness or participate in directly. Your mother explains the myths and historical events that each festival commemorates, while your father emphasizes the political and social implications of public religious observance that demonstrates family piety and civic loyalty. The Saturnalia in December represents your favourite time of year because it temporarily reverses normal social hierarchies in ways that seem magical to a child, but actually reinforce Roman values about order, authority, and the proper relationship between rulers and subjects. For 1 week, slaves give orders to masters, children receive gifts from adults, and everyone participates in feasting and celebration that acknowledges the golden age when Saturn ruled the world in peace and prosperity. But even during Saturnalia's apparent chaos, you observe that the reversal of roles follows specific rules and limitations that prevent real challenges to Roman social order. Slaves may give playful commands to their masters, but they don't attempt actual rebellion. Children receive special treatment, but they're still expected to show basic respect for adult authority. The festival provides temporary relief from normal restrictions while ultimately reinforcing the legitimacy of hierarchies that resume when celebration ends. Your participation in religious processions teaches you about the spectacle and ceremony that Romans used to demonstrate their relationship with gods who control destiny and demand constant attention and respect. Walking through Rome's streets with thousands of other citizens, carrying offerings and singing hymns, you feel connected to something larger than your individual family, while learning about the collective identity that unites all Romans regardless of social position or regional origin. The sacrificial rituals you witness during these festivals provide graphic education about life, death, and the relationship between humans and gods that shapes Roman religious thinking. You watch priests slaughter bulls, sheep, and other animals with ceremonial precision, examine their entrails for divine signs, and burn portions on altars while distributing meat to participants in communal meals that symbolize divine favor and social unity. These sacrifices aren't abstract theological exercises, but practical negotiations with supernatural forces that Romans believe directly influence military success, agricultural productivity, and family welfare. You learn that gods require regular offerings, proper ritual observance, and respectful attention from mortals who depend on divine protection and assistance for everything from safe childbirth to victory in battle. Your understanding of Roman mythology develops through stories that connect divine personalities with natural phenomena, human emotions, and historical events that explain why the world works as it does. Jupiter's thunderbolts cause storms that can help or harm Roman interests, depending on whether proper respect has been shown to the king of gods. Venus's love for Mars explains both the attraction between men and women and the connection between warfare and passion that shapes Roman military culture. The coming-of-age ceremony that awaits you around age 14 represents the most important transition of your childhood, marking your formal entry into adult society with responsibilities and privileges that will last throughout your life. Boys receive the toga virilis, the plain white toga that identifies them as adult male citizens, while girls typically marry and assume the stola that marks them as respectable Roman matrons. Your preparation for this ceremony involves months of instruction about adult responsibilities, legal obligations, and social expectations that distinguish mature Romans from children who remain under parental authority and protection. You study the laws that govern citizens, learn about political processes that determine imperial policy, and understand the military obligations that may require you to serve in legions that protect and expand Roman territory. The religious education that accompanies your transition to adulthood emphasizes your personal relationship with gods, who will judge your character and determine your fate based on how well you fulfill the obligations that Roman citizenship demands. You learn the proper prayers, sacrificial procedures, and ritual observances that maintain divine favor while avoiding the religious errors that can bring supernatural punishment on individuals and their families. Your family's ancestral traditions receive special attention during this transition period, as you learn about the specific gods, customs, and obligations that distinguish your household from others and connect you to generations of Roman tradition. The wax masks of deceased family members displayed in your home's atrium represent more than decorative objects. They're constant reminders of the achievements and reputation that you must maintain and hopefully enhance through your own actions. The moral instruction that intensifies during your pre-adult years emphasizes Roman virtues that will guide your decision-making throughout life. Virtues, courage, pietas, duty to gods and family, gravitas, dignity and seriousness, and fides, reliability and trustworthiness. These aren't abstract concepts, but practical guidelines for behavior that other Romans will use to evaluate your character and determine whether you deserve their respect and trust. Your introduction to Roman law begins with basic principles about property rights, family authority, and civic obligations that every citizen must understand to function effectively in adult society. You learn that Roman law distinguishes between different types of people, citizens and non-citizens, free and slave, male and female, with different rights and responsibilities that reflect their position in social hierarchies that Roman tradition and divine will have established. The political education you receive prepares you for potential participation in governmental processes that determine imperial policy and local administration throughout Roman territory. You study the constitution that balances power between emperor, senate, and popular assemblies, learning about the complex relationships between different levels of authority that maintain order and promote Roman interests. Your military education reflects the reality that Roman citizenship involves potential obligation to serve in legions that protect imperial borders and expand Roman territory through conquest of barbarian peoples who threaten civilization and resist proper government. Boys receive training in weapons use, military formations, and the discipline that transforms individual citizens into effective soldiers capable of defeating Rome's enemies. The social skills you develop during this transition period emphasize the networking and relationship management that successful Romans need for career advancement and family welfare. You learn to read social cues, manage conversations diplomatically, and build alliances while avoiding conflicts that could damage your reputation or create dangerous enemies. Your understanding of Roman economics develops through practical education about property management, business relationships, and the financial planning that enables families to maintain their social position and provide for future generations. You learn about agriculture, trade, manufacturing, and the various economic activities that generate wealth, while supporting the larger imperial system. The cultural sophistication that Romans expect from educated citizens receives attention through continued study of literature, philosophy, and arts that distinguish civilized people from barbarians who lack proper appreciation for beauty, wisdom, and intellectual achievement. Your knowledge of Greek and Latin classics demonstrates cultural refinement while providing intellectual resources for public speaking and social conversation. Your preparation for adult religious responsibilities includes learning the complex calendar of festivals, sacrificial requirements, and ritual observances that Romans must maintain to preserve divine favour and avoid supernatural punishment. You study the attributes and preferences of major gods, learn the proper procedures for various types of offerings, and understand the signs that indicate divine approval or displeasure. The ceremony that formally marks your transition to adulthood takes place in the presence of family, friends, and community members who witness your assumption of adult dress and acknowledgement of citizen responsibilities. Your father formally presents you to the community as a new adult member of Roman society, while you demonstrate your readiness through recitation of traditional prayers and oaths that bind you to Roman law and custom. The celebration that follows your coming-of-age ceremony reflects your family's social position and provides opportunities for networking that could benefit your future career prospects. Guests include not just relatives, but political allies, business partners, and potential patrons whose approval and assistance could determine your success in adult Roman society. Your new status as an adult Roman brings immediate changes in expectations, privileges, and responsibilities that distinguish you from the child you were just days before. You can now participate in political assemblies, serve in military units, enter into legal contracts, and begin building the reputation and relationships that will determine your place in Roman society. The transition from childhood to adulthood in Roman society represents more than biological maturation. It marks your formal entry into a civilization that spans continents and governs millions of people according to laws, customs, and values that have developed over centuries of conquest, administration, and cultural achievement. Your individual coming of age connects you to the larger story of Roman power and purpose that shapes the ancient world. Tonight, as you wear your new adult clothing and reflect on the responsibilities that now rest on your shoulders, you understand that your childhood has ended not with celebration, but with acknowledgement of duties that will define your entire life. The rituals you've experienced have prepared you for participation in a society that offers enormous opportunities, while demanding unwavering loyalty to family, gods, and empire. The religious and social education you've received through years of festival participation, ceremonial observation, and formal instruction has equipped you with the knowledge and values you'll need to navigate adult life in Roman society. Your understanding of divine will, social hierarchy, and civic obligation provides the foundation for whatever career and family responsibilities await you as a full member of the most powerful civilization the ancient world has ever known. You're 12 years old when you begin working alongside adults in your family's business, and this transition from childhood observation to actual labour marks a crucial stage in your preparation for adult responsibilities in Roman society. Whether your family owns a bakery in the Subura, manages agricultural estates outside the city, or operates a pottery workshop near the Tiber, you're now expected to contribute productive labour while continuing your education and social development. Your workday begins before dawn, as Roman businesses operate according to schedules that maximise daylight hours, while avoiding the midday heat that makes outdoor work unbearable during summer months. You wake to the sounds of the city stirring to life, vendors calling their wares, animals being driven to market, slaves carrying water and supplies through narrow streets that echo with the noise of commercial activity. The tasks assigned to you reflect both your developing capabilities and your family's need for reliable assistance that reduces labour costs while providing practical education about the economic activities that support Roman households. In your family's bakery, you help knead dough, tend ovens, and serve customers while learning the mathematics of measuring ingredients, calculating prices, and managing inventory that keeps the business profitable. If your family farms land outside Rome, your responsibilities include feeding animals, maintaining tools, and assisting with planting and harvesting that provides food for urban markets while generating income for rural landowners. You learn about crop rotation, soil management, and weather patterns that determine agricultural success, while developing the physical strength and endurance that farming requires. The workshop environment, where you spend increasing amounts of time, introduces you to the specialised skills and knowledge that distinguish Roman craftsmen from untrained labourers, while providing opportunities for advancement within established trades. Whether you're learning pottery, metalwork, textile production, or construction techniques, you begin as an apprentice who performs simple tasks while observing masters whose expertise represents decades of experience and training. Your relationship with fellow workers reflects the complex social hierarchies that characterise Roman economic life, where free citizens, freedmen and slaves work alongside each other, according to arrangements that balance efficiency with social distinctions that must be maintained even in commercial settings. You learn to command slaves appropriately while showing respect to free workers whose skills and experience exceed your own. The customers and clients who frequent your family's business provide education about Roman social diversity and the economic relationships that connect people from different backgrounds in networks of mutual dependence and obligation. Senators' wives negotiate prices for luxury goods, soldiers on leave purchase everyday necessities, and slaves shop for their masters using carefully counted coins that represent substantial portions of household budgets. Your observations of these commercial interactions teach you about the negotiation skills, psychological insight, and relationship management that successful Roman business people need for long-term prosperity. You learn to assess customers' financial capacity, social position, and personal preferences while maintaining the respectful but confident demeanour that builds trust and encourages repeat business. The entertainment that provides relief from work responsibilities reflects Roman values about competition, spectacle, and the relationship between individual achievement and public recognition that shapes imperial culture. Your family occasionally takes you to gladiatorial games, chariot races, and theatrical performances that combine amusement with education about Roman power, divine favour, and the consequences of challenging imperial authority. The gladiatorial combats you witness in local amphitheatres provide graphic demonstrations of Roman attitudes toward death, courage, and the entertainment value of human suffering that would shock modern sensibilities, but that Romans consider normal and educational. You watch trained fighters kill each other with professional skill, while crowds cheer for favourites and bet on outcomes that can mean life or death for participants. These games teach you about the Roman concept of virtues, the courage and skill that distinguish heroes from cowards, while demonstrating that death faced bravely brings honour even to slaves and criminals who normally receive no respect from Roman society. Gladiators who fight skillfully and die courageously earn posthumous fame and sometimes even freedom for surviving family members. The chariot races that fill the Circus Maximus with 250,000 spectators provide opportunities to participate in civic celebrations that unite Romans across social boundaries while reinforcing imperial ideology through pageantry and shared emotional experiences. You cheer for your favourite racing faction, the blues, greens, reds or whites, with the passionate intensity that Romans bring to all competitive activities. The theatrical performances you attend educate you about Roman history, mythology and moral values through dramatic presentations that combine entertainment with instruction about proper behaviour and social expectations. Comedies mock social pretensions and human folly, while tragedies explore themes of fate, honour, and the consequences of defying gods or proper authority. Your participation in children's games and activities provides practice for adult roles, while teaching competitive skills and social dynamics that will serve you throughout life. Boys play at being soldiers, practicing with wooden swords and shields while learning formation fighting and tactical concepts that prepare them for potential military service. The board games that occupy leisure time teach strategy, probability assessment, and the competitive spirit that Romans consider essential for success in business, politics, and military service. Ludus Latrunculorum, a game resembling chess, develops tactical thinking, while dice games introduce concepts of chance and risk management that affect many aspects of Roman life. Swimming in the Tiber or public baths provides both recreation and practical education about water safety, while offering opportunities for social interaction across class boundaries that rarely occur in other settings. Roman baths serve as community centres where business deals are negotiated, political news is shared, and social relationships are maintained through regular contact. The festivals and holidays that punctuate the Roman calendar provide opportunities for community celebration that temporarily suspends normal work routines, while reinforcing cultural values and social hierarchies through public ceremony and shared activities. Religious processions, sacrificial rituals, and communal feasting create bonds between participants while demonstrating proper relationships between humans and gods. Your health and safety during this period of increasing responsibility and independence face constant threats from diseases, accidents, and violence that characterize daily life in ancient Rome. The crowded urban environment where you live and work provides ideal conditions for epidemic diseases that can kill healthy children within days of initial symptoms. Malaria from swamps around the city causes recurring fevers that weaken your resistance to other illnesses, while affecting your ability to work effectively during crucial periods of economic activity. Gastrointestinal diseases from contaminated water and food cause chronic health problems that Romans accept as normal parts of life, rather than preventable medical conditions. The lead poisoning that affects all Romans who use water pipes, cooking vessels and cosmetic products gradually damages your nervous system in ways that Romans don't understand, but that modern medicine recognises as serious threats to cognitive development and long-term health. Rich families face higher exposure levels because they can afford more lead-based luxury goods. Workplace accidents represent constant dangers in Roman industrial and commercial activities that lack modern safety equipment or protective regulations. Burns from ovens, cuts from tools, falls from buildings under construction, and injuries from large animals or heavy machinery can permanently disable or kill workers whose families depend on their continued productivity. The violence that pervades Roman society affects children as well as adults. From domestic beatings that parents consider normal discipline to street crime that threatens anyone who ventures into Rome's dangerous neighbourhoods after dark. Gang warfare between supporters of different gladiatorial schools or chariot racing factions can erupt into battles that injure innocent bystanders. Your developing understanding of money and economic relationships reflects the complex commercial systems that support Roman prosperity while creating opportunities for both legitimate business success and various forms of fraud or exploitation. You learn to evaluate coin purity, detect counterfeit currency, and assess the creditworthiness of customers and business partners. The apprenticeship opportunities available to you depend heavily on your family's social connections and financial resources, since learning valuable trades requires access to established craftsmen who guard their secrets while training the next generation of skilled workers. competition for positions with respected masters can be intense, especially in prestigious trades that offer paths to social advancement. Your observations of slave labour in workshops and households provide education about the economic systems that depend on unpaid workers, while raising questions about justice, human dignity, and the legitimacy of social arrangements that Romans consider natural and divinely ordained. You see skilled artisans whose talents exceed those of free workers, but whose legal status prevents them from benefiting financially from their abilities. The seasonal cycles that govern agricultural and commercial activities teach you about planning, resource management, and the importance of timing that affects success in most Roman economic endeavours. Merchants must coordinate shipping schedules with weather patterns, farmers must balance planting decisions with market demands, and craftsmen must adjust production to seasonal variations in customer needs. Your developing reputation within the business community begins to affect your family's commercial relationships and your own future prospects for career advancement or marriage arrangements. Romans evaluate young people based on their character, skills, and potential for success while considering their family backgrounds and social connections. The travel opportunities that business activities provide expand your understanding of the Roman world beyond your immediate neighbourhood, while teaching you about the diversity of peoples, cultures, and economic activities that imperial administration coordinates and controls. Trips to rural estates, neighbouring cities or trading centres introduce you to different aspects of Roman civilization. Your growing awareness of social inequality and economic exploitation raises questions about justice and social responsibility that will affect your adult attitudes toward wealth, power, and obligations to less fortunate members of society. You observe how some families prosper while others struggle, how accidents of birth determine life opportunities, and how economic systems can concentrate wealth among small elites while impoverishing majority populations. The friendships and rivalries you develop during this period of increasing independence and responsibility may last throughout your life, while providing networks of mutual support and assistance that Romans consider essential for personal and family security. You learn to evaluate potential allies and enemies, while building relationships that could prove valuable during future challenges. As you approach the formal transition to adulthood, your work experience has provided practical education about Roman economic life that complements the formal academic instruction you've received, while preparing you for the responsibilities and opportunities that await adult citizens of the empire. Whether you continue in your family's business, pursue advanced education, or enter military service, your childhood work experience has equipped you with skills and knowledge that will serve you throughout adult life. Tonight, as you review the day's commercial activities and plan tomorrow's responsibilities, you understand that your transition from childhood to adulthood has been gradual rather than sudden, marked by increasing competence and responsibility rather than ceremonial declarations. The work you've learned to perform represents both personal achievement and contribution to the economic systems that support Roman prosperity and imperial power. You're 15 years old when your father formally announces your betrothal to the daughter of a prominent Roman family, and this arrangement crystallizes everything you've learned about duty, social hierarchy, and the subordination of individual desires to family interest that defines Roman civilization. The marriage contract that's being negotiated between your families represents more than personal relationship. It's a political and economic alliance that will affect multiple generations while demonstrating your family's social position and ambitions. Your preparation for adult responsibilities has accelerated dramatically over the past year as your parents recognize that childhood is ending and that your future success depends on the skills, relationships, and reputation you develop during this crucial transition period. Every aspect of your education and social development now focuses on preparing you for the roles and obligations that Roman society expects from adult citizens. The military service that awaits most young Roman men represents both opportunity and obligation that will test everything you've learned about courage, discipline, and loyalty to imperial interests. Your physical training has intensified to prepare your body for the demands of campaign life, while your education in Roman history and military strategy provides intellectual preparation for leadership responsibilities you may assume during your service. Your father's discussions about your military prospects reflect his understanding of how army service can advance family interests, while providing practical education about leadership, administration, and the political networks that govern imperial policy. A successful military career could lead to positions in provincial administration, advancement to senatorial rank, or business opportunities that result from connections made during campaigns. The legal education you've received through apprenticeship with your family's advocate prepares you for the civic responsibilities that Roman citizenship demands, while providing skills that could support a career in law or politics. You've learned to draft contracts, argue cases, and navigate the complex procedures that govern Roman courts, while developing the rhetorical abilities that successful advocates need for professional advancement. Your understanding of Roman property law reflects the importance of land ownership, inheritance rights, and estate management that determine family wealth and social position across generations. You've studied the legal principles that govern marriage contracts, adoption procedures, and business partnerships while learning about the litigation strategies that protect family interests against competitors or creditors. The business experience you've gained through increasing responsibility in your family's commercial activities has taught you about profit calculation, risk assessment, and the customer relations that determine success in Roman markets. Whether you continue in commerce or pursue other careers, this practical education about economic relationships will serve you throughout adult life. Your developing network of social relationships includes young men from various backgrounds, whose friendships could prove valuable during future political or business endeavours. These connections, formed through shared education, military training, or family associations, represent the personal bonds that Romans consider essential for career advancement and mutual protection in competitive environments. The cultural sophistication you've acquired through advanced study of literature, philosophy, and rhetoric distinguishes you from less educated Romans, while providing the intellectual resources you'll need for participation in elite social circles. Your knowledge of Greek and Latin classics, combined with speaking and writing skills developed through years of formal training, demonstrates the refinement that Romans expect from their social and political leaders. Your religious education has prepared you for the ceremonial responsibilities that adult Roman citizens must fulfill to maintain proper relationships with gods who control imperial destiny and family welfare. You understand the sacrificial procedures, festival obligations, and ritual observances that demonstrate piety, while avoiding the religious errors that could bring divine punishment on yourself and your family. The moral framework that will guide your adult decision-making emphasizes Roman virtues that distinguish civilized behavior from barbarian customs, while providing principles for evaluating competing claims on your loyalty and resources. Virtus, pietas, gravitas, and fides represent more than abstract ideals. They're practical guidelines for behavior that other Romans will use to assess your character and trustworthiness. Your preparation for marriage involves learning about the legal, financial, and social obligations that Roman husbands assume, while understanding the power dynamics that govern relationships between men and women in imperial society. Your future wife will bring a dowry that enhances your family's wealth, while creating obligations for her protection and maintenance that last throughout the marriage. The household management skills you've developed prepare you for the complex responsibilities of running a Roman establishment that may include dozens of slaves, freedmen, and dependents whose welfare depends on your competence and leadership. You've learned about personnel management, resource allocation, and the discipline that maintains order while maximizing productivity. Your political education has introduced you to the institutions and processes that govern imperial administration, while teaching you about the opportunities and risks that characterize public careers in Roman society. Whether you seek elected office, administrative appointments, or military commands, your success will depend on your ability to navigate complex networks of alliance and opposition. The financial planning skills you've acquired reflect the importance of long-term thinking that enables Roman families to maintain their social position across generations while adapting to changing political and economic conditions. You've learned about investment strategies, debt management, and the estate planning that protects family wealth against various threats and uncertainties. Your understanding of provincial administration reflects the scope and complexity of governing an empire that spans 3 continents, while coordinating diverse peoples, cultures, and economic systems under Roman law and authority. Whether you serve as governor, staff officer, or local administrator, your success will depend on your ability to balance imperial interests with local conditions. The language skills you've developed through bilingual education in Latin and Greek prepare you for communication with educated people throughout the Roman world, while demonstrating the cultural sophistication that distinguishes elite Romans from provincial populations who lack comparable intellectual development. Your military training has provided basic competence in weapons use, formation fighting, and the discipline that transforms individual citizens into effective soldiers capable of defeating Rome's enemies while maintaining the unit cohesion that ensures battlefield success and personal survival. The character assessment that your community will make of your readiness for adult responsibilities reflects years of observation about your behaviour, achievements, and potential for future success or failure. Romans evaluate young people based on demonstrated virtues rather than family connections alone, though social background significantly influences opportunities and expectations. Your coming-of-age ceremony, scheduled for your 16th birthday, will formally mark your transition from childhood dependence to adult citizenship with full legal rights and civic obligations. The toga virilis you'll receive symbolises your acceptance into the community of Roman men, while acknowledging your readiness to assume responsibilities that may affect many other people. The celebration that follows your formal recognition as an adult Roman will provide opportunities for networking and relationship building that could influence your career prospects, while demonstrating your family's social position and political connections. Guests will include not just relatives but potential patrons, business partners, and political allies whose approval could prove valuable throughout your adult life. Your immediate plans following the coming-of-age ceremony involve military service that's expected of young Roman citizens, while providing practical education about leadership, administration, and the imperial system that governs territories from Britain to Mesopotamia. Your service record will affect your eligibility for political offices and your reputation within Roman society. The marriage that awaits you after military service represents both personal relationship and family alliance that will determine your domestic circumstances while affecting your children's social position and life opportunities. Your success as husband and father will be measured by your ability to provide security, maintain honour, and advance family interests through wise decision-making and effective leadership. Your career prospects depend on the combination of family background, personal achievement, and political connections that determines advancement opportunities in Roman society. Whether you pursue law, politics, military command, or business leadership, your success will reflect both individual merit and your ability to navigate complex social relationships. The legacy you hope to leave reflects Roman values about honour, service, and family continuity that motivate personal achievement while serving larger imperial interests. Your goal is to enhance your family's reputation while contributing to Roman prosperity and power that benefits all citizens who share in imperial success. As you prepare for the ceremony that will mark your formal entry into adult Roman society, you understand that your childhood has provided foundation rather than conclusion for the education and development that will continue throughout your life. The skills, relationships, and values you've acquired prepare you for opportunities and challenges that will test everything you've learned about being Roman. The childhood you've experienced as a Roman represents both privilege and burden. The privilege of membership in history's most powerful civilization, combined with the burden of meeting expectations and obligations that could determine not just your own fate, but that of your family and descendants. Your education, relationships, and character development have prepared you for adult roles in a society that offered unprecedented opportunities, while demanding unwavering loyalty to values and institutions that prioritized collective success over individual desires. The survival skills you've developed through 15 years of Roman childhood extend far beyond simple physical endurance to encompass psychological resilience, social intelligence, and moral flexibility that enabled you to thrive in environments that would challenge modern children beyond their capacity to adapt. You've learned to accept authority without question, while developing the leadership skills you'll need to command others, to compete aggressively while maintaining collaborative relationships, and to balance personal ambitions with family obligations and civic duties. Your understanding of Roman civilization reflects both its remarkable achievements and its fundamental contradictions. A society that created magnificent art and literature, while entertaining itself with brutal spectacles, that developed sophisticated legal systems while denying basic rights to millions of slaves, that promoted values of honour and virtue while building wealth through conquest and exploitation of conquered peoples. The religious framework that shaped your childhood provided structure and meaning for daily life, while connecting your individual existence to cosmic forces that Romans believed controlled human destiny. Your participation in sacrificial rituals, festival celebrations, and household worship taught you about duty, humility, and the proper relationships between mortals and gods who demanded constant attention and respect. The social hierarchies you've learned to navigate represent one of Rome's most enduring legacies, creating organizational principles that enabled effective administration of vast territories and diverse populations while establishing patterns of authority and subordination that influenced European civilization for centuries after the empire's fall. Your education in proper behavior towards superiors, equals, and inferiors provided practical training for participation in governmental, military, and commercial institutions. The military values that permeated your education reflect Rome's origins as a warrior society that achieved greatness through disciplined violence and strategic thinking, transforming Italian farmers into professional soldiers capable of defeating any enemy while establishing administrative systems that governed conquered territories effectively. Your preparation for potential military service included not just physical training but psychological conditioning that would enable you to kill enemies without hesitation while maintaining loyalty to commanders and comrades under extreme stress. The economic knowledge you've acquired through family business involvement and formal education about property, contracts, and commercial relationships prepared you for participation in sophisticated market systems that connected local production with imperial-wide distribution networks. Rome's economic achievements enabled support for urban populations that exceeded anything previously achieved in human history, while creating wealth that funded military expansion and monumental construction projects. The cultural sophistication you've developed through literary education, philosophical study, and artistic appreciation represents Rome's successful integration of Greek intellectual traditions with practical Roman values, creating a synthesis that produced some of humanity's greatest achievements in law, engineering, literature, and governance. Your bilingual education in Latin and Greek provided access to intellectual resources that distinguished educated Romans from barbarian peoples who lacked comparable cultural development. As you reflect on your Roman childhood while preparing for adult responsibilities, you understand that your experiences represent both historical achievement and human tragedy. The achievement of creating civilization on a scale never before attempted, combined with the tragedy of systems that enabled some people to flourish, while condemning others to lives of suffering and servitude. The Rome that nurtured your development continues to face challenges that will test the institutions and values that enabled imperial success for centuries. Barbarian pressures on frontier boundaries, economic strains from military expenditures, political instability from competing ambitions, and social tensions from inequality and exploitation create threats that may require innovations and adaptations that your generation will need to develop and implement. Your individual transition to adulthood occurs within the context of historical forces larger than any single person can control or fully understand. But your education and character development have prepared you to contribute to Roman responses to these challenges while pursuing personal goals that reflect both individual ambition and collective welfare. Tonight, as you prepare for the ceremony that will formally recognize your adulthood in the greatest civilization the ancient world has known, you carry the hopes and expectations of family, community, and empire that have shaped every aspect of your development from birth through adolescence. Your Roman childhood has ended, but the values, skills, and relationships you've developed will influence every decision you make throughout adult life. The empire that claims your loyalty and service extends from Britain to Mesopotamia, from the Rhine to the Sahara, encompassing millions of people who depend on Roman administration for peace, prosperity and protection against enemies who threaten civilization itself. Your adult contributions to this vast enterprise will determine not just your personal success, but the continued strength and stability of institutions that have shaped human development for centuries. Your childhood in ancient Rome has prepared you for challenges and opportunities that few people in human history have ever faced. The chance to participate in governing an empire that spans continents while helping to shape the future development of human civilization. The lessons you've learned about duty, honour, courage and service will guide you through adult responsibilities that may influence the lives of countless people, while contributing to historical forces that will echo across centuries. The Roman childhood that ends tonight has equipped you with everything you need to take your place among the citizens who build, defend and govern the most remarkable civilization the ancient world has ever produced. Your individual story becomes part of the larger narrative of Roman achievement that continues to influence human societies thousands of years after the empire's greatest triumphs and most devastating defeats. As you drift off to sleep on the last night of your Roman childhood, you can appreciate both the remarkable preparation you've received and the extraordinary opportunities that await you as an adult citizen of history's most successful empire. Tomorrow begins your adult life in ancient Rome, where every day will test the lessons you've learned while providing chances to contribute to the ongoing story of human civilization at its most ambitious and most consequential. The survival skills you've developed through 15 years of Roman childhood extend far beyond simple physical endurance to encompass psychological resilience, social intelligence, and moral flexibility that enabled you to thrive in environments that would challenge modern children beyond their capacity to adapt. You've learned to accept authority without question, while developing the leadership skills you'll need to command others, to compete aggressively while maintaining collaborative relationships, and to balance personal ambitions with family obligations and civic duties. Your understanding of Roman civilization reflects both its remarkable achievements and its fundamental contradictions. A society that created magnificent art and literature while entertaining itself with brutal spectacles, that developed sophisticated legal systems while denying basic rights to millions of slaves, that promoted values of honour and virtue while building wealth through conquest and exploitation of conquered peoples. The religious framework that shaped your childhood provided structure and meaning for daily life, while connecting your individual existence to cosmic forces that Romans believed controlled human destiny. Your participation in sacrificial rituals, festival celebrations, and household worship taught you about duty, humility, and the proper relationships between mortals and gods who demanded constant attention and respect. The social hierarchies you've learned to navigate represent one of Rome's most enduring legacies, creating organisational principles that enabled effective administration of vast territories and diverse populations while establishing patterns of authority and subordination that influenced European civilization for centuries after the empire's fall. Your education in proper behaviour toward superiors, equals, and inferiors provided practical training for participation in governmental, military and commercial institutions that required sophisticated understanding of rank, protocol, and influence. The military values that permeated your education reflect Rome's origins as a warrior society that achieved greatness through disciplined violence and strategic thinking, transforming Italian farmers into professional soldiers capable of defeating any enemy while establishing administrative systems that governed conquered territories effectively. Your preparation for potential military service included not just physical training but psychological conditioning that would enable you to kill enemies without hesitation, while maintaining loyalty to commanders and comrades under extreme stress. The economic knowledge you've acquired through family business involvement and formal education about property, contracts, and commercial relationships prepared you for participation in sophisticated market systems that connected local production with imperial-wide distribution networks. Rome's economic achievements enabled support for urban populations that exceeded anything previously achieved in human history, while creating wealth that funded military expansion and monumental construction projects. The cultural sophistication you've developed through literary education, philosophical study, and artistic appreciation represents Rome's successful integration of Greek intellectual traditions with practical Roman values, creating a synthesis that produced some of humanity's greatest achievements in law, engineering, literature, and governance. Your bilingual education in Latin and Greek provided access to intellectual resources that distinguished educated Romans from barbarian peoples who lacked comparable cultural development. The family relationships that shaped your emotional and moral development reflect Roman institutions that balanced individual welfare with collective security, creating kinship systems that provided support networks while maintaining authority structures that ensured social stability. Your preparation for marriage and parenthood included understanding of legal obligations, financial responsibilities, and social expectations that would govern your adult domestic life. The political awareness you've developed through observation of imperial administration and participation in civic ceremonies prepared you for potential roles in governmental institutions that coordinated activities across vast territories while maintaining Roman control over diverse populations with different languages, customs, and religious traditions. Your education about law, administration, and diplomacy provided foundation for careers in public service that could advance both personal ambitions and imperial interests. As you reflect on your Roman childhood while preparing for adult responsibilities, you understand that your experiences represent both historical achievement and human tragedy, the achievement of creating civilization on a scale never before attempted, combined with the tragedy of systems that enabled some people to flourish while condemning others to lives of suffering and servitude. The Rome that nurtured your development continues to face challenges that will test the institutions and values that enabled imperial success for centuries. Barbarian pressures on frontier boundaries, economic strains from military expenditures, political instability from competing ambitions, and social tensions from inequality and exploitation create threats that may require innovations and adaptations that your generation will need to develop and implement. Your individual transition to adulthood occurs within the context of historical forces larger than any single person can control or fully understand, but your education and character development have prepared you to contribute to Roman responses to these challenges, while pursuing personal goals that reflect both individual ambition and collective welfare. The legacy of Roman childhood that you carry forward includes both the strengths that enabled imperial success and the limitations that created vulnerabilities and injustices that would eventually contribute to imperial decline. Your generation inherits both opportunities and problems that previous Romans created through their achievements and failures. Tonight, as you prepare for the ceremony that will formally recognize your adulthood in the greatest civilization the ancient world has known, you carry the hopes and expectations of family, community, and empire that have shaped every aspect of your development from birth through adolescence. Your Roman childhood has ended, but the values, skills, and relationships you've developed will influence every decision you make throughout adult life. The empire that claims your loyalty and service extends from Britain to Mesopotamia, from the Rhine to the Sahara, encompassing millions of people who depend on Roman administration for peace, prosperity, and protection against enemies who threaten civilization itself. Your adult contributions to this vast enterprise will determine not just your personal success, but the continued strength and stability of institutions that have shaped human development for centuries. Your childhood in ancient Rome has prepared you for challenges and opportunities that few people in human history have ever faced. The chance to participate in governing an empire that spans continents while helping to shape the future development of human civilization. The lessons you've learned about duty, honor, courage, and service will guide you through adult responsibilities that may influence the lives of countless people while contributing to historical forces that will echo across centuries. The Roman childhood that ends tonight has equipped you with everything you need to take your place among the citizens who build, defend, and govern the most remarkable civilization the ancient world has ever produced. Your individual story becomes part of the larger narrative of Roman achievement that continues to influence human societies thousands of years after the empire's greatest triumphs and most devastating defeats. As you drift off to sleep on the last night of your Roman childhood, you can appreciate both the remarkable preparation you've received and the extraordinary opportunities that await you as an adult citizen of history's most successful empire. Tomorrow begins your adult life in ancient Rome, where every day will test the lessons you've learned while providing chances to contribute to the ongoing story of human civilization at its most ambitious and most consequential. Prepared you for adult roles in a society that offered unprecedented opportunities while demanding unwavering loyalty to values and institutions that prioritized collective success over individual desires. The survival skills you've developed through 15 years of Roman childhood extend far beyond simple physical endurance to encompass psychological resilience, social intelligence, and moral flexibility that enabled you to thrive in environments that would challenge modern children beyond their capacity to adapt. You've learned to accept authority without question, while developing the leadership skills you'll need to command others, to compete aggressively while maintaining collaborative relationships, and to balance personal ambitions with family obligations and civic duties. Your understanding of Roman civilization reflects both its remarkable achievements and its fundamental contradictions. A society that created magnificent art and literature while entertaining itself with brutal spectacles, that developed sophisticated legal systems while denying basic rights to millions of slaves, that promoted values of honour and virtue while building wealth through conquest and exploitation of conquered peoples. The religious framework that shaped your childhood provided structure and meaning for daily life, while connecting your individual existence to cosmic forces that Romans believed controlled human destiny. Your participation in sacrificial rituals, festival celebrations, and household worship taught you about duty, humility, and the proper relationships between mortals and gods who demanded constant attention and respect. The social hierarchies you've learned to navigate represent one of Rome's most enduring legacies, creating organizational principles that enabled effective administration of vast territories and diverse populations while establishing patterns of authority and subordination that influenced European civilization for centuries after the empire's fall. Your education in proper behaviour towards superiors, equals, and inferiors provided practical training for participation in governmental, military, and commercial institutions that required sophisticated understanding of rank, protocol, and influence. The military values that permeated your education reflect Rome's origins as a warrior society that achieved greatness through disciplined violence and strategic thinking, transforming Italian farmers into professional soldiers capable of defeating any enemy, while establishing administrative systems that governed conquered territories effectively. Your preparation for potential military service included not just physical training but psychological conditioning that would enable you to kill enemies without hesitation, while maintaining loyalty to commanders and comrades under extreme stress. The economic knowledge you've acquired through family business involvement and formal education about property, contracts, and commercial relationships prepared you for participation in sophisticated market systems that connected local production with imperial-wide distribution networks. Rome's economic achievements enabled support for urban populations that exceeded anything previously achieved in human history, while creating wealth that funded military expansion and monumental construction projects. The cultural sophistication you've developed through literary education, philosophical study, and artistic appreciation represents Rome's successful integration of Greek intellectual traditions with practical Roman values, creating a synthesis that produced some of humanity's greatest achievements in law, engineering, literature, and governance. Your bilingual education in Latin and Greek provided access to intellectual resources that distinguished educated Romans from barbarian peoples who lacked comparable cultural development. The family relationships that shaped your emotional and moral development reflect Roman institutions that balanced individual welfare with collective security, creating kinship systems that provided support networks while maintaining authority structures that ensured social stability. Your preparation for marriage and parenthood included understanding of legal obligations, financial responsibilities, and social expectations that would govern your adult domestic life. The political awareness you've developed through observation of imperial administration and participation in civic ceremonies prepared you for potential roles in governmental institutions that coordinated activities across vast territories while maintaining Roman control over diverse populations with different languages, customs, and religious traditions. Your education about law, administration, and diplomacy provided foundation for careers in public service that could advance both personal ambitions and imperial interests. As you reflect on your Roman childhood while preparing for adult responsibilities, you understand that your experiences represent both historical achievement and human tragedy. The achievement of creating civilization on a scale never before attempted, combined with the tragedy of systems that enabled some people to flourish, while condemning others to lives of suffering and servitude. The Rome that nurtured your development continues to face challenges that will test the institutions and values that enabled imperial success for centuries. Barbarian pressures on frontier boundaries, economic strains from military expenditures, political instability from competing ambitions, and social tensions from inequality and exploitation create threats that may require innovations and adaptations that your generation will need to develop and implement. Your individual transition to adulthood occurs within the context of historical forces larger than any single person can control or fully understand. But your education and character development have prepared you to contribute to Roman responses to these challenges while pursuing personal goals that reflect both individual ambition and collective welfare. The legacy of Roman childhood that you carry forward includes both the strengths that enabled imperial success and the limitations that created vulnerabilities and injustices that would eventually contribute to imperial decline. Your generation inherits both opportunities and problems that previous Romans created through their achievements and failures. Tonight, as you prepare for the ceremony that will formally recognize your adulthood in the greatest civilization the ancient world has known, you carry the hopes and expectations of family, community, and empire that have shaped every aspect of your development from birth through adolescence. Your Roman childhood has ended, but the values, skills, and relationships you've developed will influence every decision you make throughout adult life. The empire that claims your loyalty and service extends from Britain to Mesopotamia, from the Rhine to the Sahara, encompassing millions of people who depend on Roman administration for peace, prosperity, and protection against enemies who threaten civilization itself. Your adult contributions to this vast enterprise will determine not just your personal success, but the continued strength and stability of institutions that have shaped human development for centuries. Your childhood in ancient Rome has prepared you for challenges and opportunities that few people in human history have ever faced. The chance to participate in governing an empire that spans continents while helping to shape the future development of human civilization. The lessons you've learned about duty, honor, courage, and service will guide you through adult responsibilities that may influence the lives of countless people while contributing to historical forces that will echo across centuries. The Roman childhood that ends tonight has equipped you with everything you need to take your place among the citizens who build, defend, and govern the most remarkable civilization the ancient world has ever produced. Your individual story becomes part of the larger narrative of Roman achievement that continues to influence human societies thousands of years after the empire's greatest triumphs and most devastating defeats. As you drift off to sleep on the last night of your Roman childhood, you can appreciate both the remarkable preparation you've received and the extraordinary opportunities that await you as an adult citizen of history's most successful empire. Tomorrow begins your adult life in ancient Rome, where every day will test the lessons you've learned while providing chances to contribute to the ongoing story of human civilization at its most ambitious and most consequential. As you stand at the threshold of adulthood in ancient Rome, wearing the toga virilis that marks your transition from childhood to citizenship, you carry with you 15 years of experiences that would be both fascinating and terrifying to modern children. Your childhood in the world's greatest empires taught you lessons about survival, hierarchy, and duty that few young people in human history have ever needed to learn. From the moment of your birth, when you were placed at your father's feet for him to decide whether you would live or die, through years of rigorous education that combined learning with daily beatings, to your preparation for adult responsibilities that include potential military service and arranged marriage, your childhood has been a carefully orchestrated preparation for life in a civilization that demanded excellence while offering no guarantees of survival. You've witnessed gladiators die for entertainment, learned to read and write while being beaten for mistakes, worked alongside slaves who possessed greater skills but lacked freedom, and participated in religious ceremonies that honoured gods who could destroy you for showing insufficient respect. Your education encompassed not just academic subjects, but practical lessons about social hierarchy, political loyalty, and the moral compromises that Roman success required. The Rome that shaped your childhood represented humanity's most successful experiment in organising large-scale civilization, creating legal systems that still influence modern law, engineering achievements that remain impressive today, and military innovations that enabled a single city to control territories spanning 3 continents. But this remarkable success came at enormous human cost, built on slavery, conquest, and social systems that offered opportunities to some while condemning others to lives of service and subordination. Your childhood as a Roman represents both privilege and burden, the privilege of membership in history's most powerful civilization, combined with the burden of meeting expectations that could determine not just your own fate, but that of your family and descendants. The survival skills you've developed extend far beyond physical endurance to encompass psychological resilience, social intelligence, and moral flexibility that enabled you to thrive in environments that would challenge modern children beyond their capacity to adapt. The values that guided your development, duty before pleasure, family honour before individual desire, collective welfare before personal ambition, represent more than cultural preferences. They reflect hard-won wisdom about what enables human societies to survive and prosper across centuries of challenge and change. Your Roman childhood gave you access to this wisdom, while preparing you to apply it in circumstances that will test everything you've learned. Tonight, as you prepare for the ceremony that will formally recognize your adulthood in the greatest civilization the ancient world has known, you understand that your childhood has been preparation for responsibilities that extend far beyond your individual life. You've been trained to think in terms of generations rather than years, to consider how decisions affect not just immediate consequences, but long-term outcomes that will shape the future of human civilization. The empire that claims your loyalty extends from Britain to Mesopotamia, from the Rhine to the Sahara, encompassing millions of people who depend on Roman administration for peace and prosperity. Your adult contributions to this vast enterprise will determine not just your personal success, but the continued strength of institutions that have shaped human development for centuries. As you drift off to sleep on the last night of your Roman childhood, you carry with you memories of experiences that few people in human history have shared. The privilege of growing up at the centre of the ancient world's greatest civilization, surrounded by achievements in art, literature, law, and governance that continue to influence human development 2,000 years later. Your Roman childhood ends tonight, but its influence on your character, values, and understanding of human potential will guide you throughout whatever challenges and opportunities your adult life may bring. Tomorrow begins your journey as a citizen of history's most remarkable empire, where every day will test the lessons you've learned while providing chances to contribute to the ongoing story of human civilization at its most ambitious and most consequential.